Today, I'll introduce you to a really important, really valuable, really useful astrological tool, the Biwheel, and we'll especially talk about how it can be used in relationship astrology. Now, there are many different ways you can draw a birth chart. A birth chart is basically a map of the symbolic sky. Each different technique for drawing the map favors a different kind of interpretive approach to the chart. Today, we're going to be talking about biwheels. So we're going to be talking about the circular charts. And the strong point of the circular chart is that it actually represents the geometry of the sky exactly. What are the shapes formed between these 2 points? And what is the actual distance, the angular distance between different points in a chart? The wheel chart excels at displaying that to you. So we're going to use wheel charts, and we're going to use something called biwheels, which means putting 2 wheels together. So here is a birth chart, my birth chart, displayed on a wheel. And here is another person's birth chart, my wife's birth chart, also displayed on a wheel. What you do with the biwheel is you combine the 2 of them into one. So my planets are placed on the inside of the wheel, and my wife's planets are placed on the outside of the wheel. And the brilliant thing about this is now we can see exactly, very easily, how the positions that my wife was born under interact with, relate to the positions that I was born under. Now, in this particular case, we're looking at 2 people combined onto one chart, forming a biwheel, but you're not limited to that. Anytime you want to compare 2 charts of anything, a biwheel is fantastic. So for example, if you want to combine your chart and your daughter's chart, you can do that, and that will help you analyze the relationship between you and your daughter. If you want to combine the chart between the United States and China, you can do that. One frequent way that biwheels are used is to compare the transiting planets with the natal planets. And another experimental way is you can compare an Amsha chart to the main chart using a biwheel. Now, this particular chart has the zodiac, 12-sign zodiac, as the wheel on which it's based. It doesn't have to be like that. Here's another biwheel that I include in the compatibility report, which is a nakshatra biwheel. So this one is showing the positions of the 2 people's planets in relation to the 27 constellations instead of the 12 signs. So now let me show you some of the key things that biwheels are really, really good at revealing to you easily on sight. Actually, the easiest thing to see with biwheels is the conjunctions. For example, it's very easy to see that my Ketu is super close to my wife's sun, and pretty darn close to her Venus as well. Now, as for what the interpretation would be of the husband's Ketu conjoins the wife's sun, the Ketu is going to be deepening or pulling away from the sun. And sun is going to be kind of fueling or funneling its energy into the Ketu. And later on in this video series, I want to explore the rich meaning that's in there. It's not just limited to, okay, well, Ketu is pulling away from her sun, so he's diminishing her ego. That is it in a nutshell, though. Another thing that the biwheel really reveals is the aspects. A wheel itself, even with a single chart, is very good for seeing exactly where the aspects fall, because aspects are angular in any system, Western or Eastern, Vedic or non-Vedic. So for example, when a Vedic astrologer says Jupiter has an aspect on the 5th, 7th, and 9th house, what they're saying is Jupiter with 100% potency aspects 120 degrees, 180 degrees, and 240 degrees. And since wheels are exactly representations of those 360 degrees, it's very easy to see whether or not that aspect is actually hitting the point or not. For example, here you can really easily see that his or my Jupiter is exactly opposite from her Jupiter. So the Jupiters are in mutual aspect. And that's got to be a great thing, right? So this is something that really holds together this relationship. And how you interpret that, I want to go into that in upcoming episodes, so make sure you subscribe and follow this series. And I go into that in the compatibility report, so if you want to explore that in your relationships, get one of my compatibility reports and watch my video series to help you voyage into and explore the interpretations that are offered in that report. One more thing that these biwheels are really great at showing is the Sinestro Geometry, what I call in the report Sinestro Geometry, which is the shapes that form between various points. So for example, let's consider the ascendant. How do the ascendants of two people match? Because that's going to influence their ability to be in the same place at the same time, do common things together, just have schedules that work together, or have body types that are compatible. So when you put it on a biwheel, it's easy to see that, well, their ascendants are basically opposite. His ascendant is in Capricorn, her ascendant is in Cancer, which is a good thing in synastry. In synastry, the opposition indicates a magnetic, forceful attraction due to the opposites. I call it the opposites attract condition. Like since this is involving the ascendants, this would be like, say, for example, schedules or the practicalities of the body and the physical life. They're very, very different from you, but that's why they're so irresistible, or that's why you need that so much. You need that difference so much. Now, you could probably, if you're familiar with astrology, do that anyway in your head, because you already know that Cancer is opposite from Capricorn. But the thing about the biwheel is it shows you the intensity of it also. So with the biwheels, it's easy to see, like, yeah, this is strong, but it's not the strongest thing in the world, because there's a bit of an angular difference in there. It looks like it's probably about 15 degrees off from a perfect opposition. And in the report, I do examine other points too, not just the ascendant. Like, let's examine the moon, right? So by looking at a biwheel, we can see, oh, his moon is 3 signs away from her moon. His is Gemini, so that's 1. Then there's Taurus in between, that's 2. And then hers is Aries, that's 3. So that's 3 or 11, depending on which direction you go. And that distance, 3 or 11 houses, means something, because it's 60 degrees, which is half of a trine. Right, so it's like half of a trine. Trine means very easy mutual support. The half trine, 60-degree mark, means quietly supportive, supportive from behind the scenes. And so in my report, I look at the various points, Venus, Mars, and the angles formed between them, and also between each other. So for example, what's the relationship between her moon, which is in Aries, and his ascendant, which is in Capricorn? That's a square. And how intense is that square? It's off by maybe 10 degrees. The square is a clash. So there's a clash between his practicalities or his physicality and her emotional nature. Okay, so these are some of the really great tools that the biwheel puts on your table. And these are the things that I explore in this new compatibility report. I want to also just give a quick hint about how useful this is when you're trying to do Kutam, the Indian Kutam analysis, which is also included in my compatibility report. Or if you want to experiment with other things like the Tarabala between points of 2 different people. This is a great tool. Tarabala is the principle that distances between constellations are interpretable. So it's kind of like a nakshatra-based synastic geometry. But see, this nakshatra biwheel will be great for that, or it's also great for doing any technique in Kutam where you have to count nakshatras. So if you want to count the distance from the woman's moon to the man's moon, which is an important consideration called Sridirga, which shows the how well the traditional, natural, basic male-female dynamic works. So here, I'll just give you a little preview, a coming soon attraction of what we'll be looking at when we get to the episodes in this series that will talk about that Kuta system of compatibility. Take the nakshatra of the man. So that's Rohini here, right? See, and the inner moon is in Rohini. The blue moon on the inside of the wheel is in Rohini. And then you want to count backwards, because this is talking about how female energy follows the male's lead. If the female's moon is close enough behind the male's moon, then it's a blessing for the relationships. It makes it, for a male-female relationship, it makes it easier for that whole like biological male-female dynamic to just work without hiccups. So if you just start looking counterclockwise from my moon, and look on the outside of the wheel and look for harmony, you're not going to find it. You keep going back. Hasta, Chitra, you go way back past 9. 9 is the good distance away. Anything 9 or less constellations back is a bonus to the relationship. From 10 up till 18 is nothing special, not a bonus or a negative. But you got to go all the way around the wheel till you get to Revati, till you find her moon on the outside. So her moon is tons of nakshatras away from mine. So what you would say with this relationship is, well, this guy prefers to follow the girl. But that's a little bit of a drain on the natural dynamic of how femininity and masculinity works. So that's going to put some hiccup into this relationship where she's going to feel like, why do I have to take the lead all the time? And he's going to feel stressed out about taking the lead. So anyway, when we get to the segments that explore the nakshatra-based Kutam compatibility stuff, this is going to be some of the fascinating things that we look into and learn about. But let's wrap it up for today. Hopefully you see what a important and useful tool the Biwheel is, what it is, how you would put one together, how especially useful it is for compatibility astrology. And if you want to get this compatibility report for yourself and your partner or potential partner, or for your friend who's having a problem with the relationship or considering getting married or whatever, your daughter, your son, go to my website, victorcara.com, and click over to readings and click the compatibility report, or just use this URL right here. Thank you. I'll see you next week with the next installment in this series, which is we're going to talk in much more detail about Sinestro Geometry and the shapes, what the shapes are, how to calculate the weights, and how to interpret them. So see you next week. Thank you.